how's it feel to finally get the ball rolling? Got recruits, we're not going to talk about them necessarily, but just finally getting the baseball back here in Treasure Valley going after 7 weeks after we talked at your press conference.
Yeah, it's been an awesome ride already. There's a lot going on, and I'm just trying to keep it day by day and try and prioritize, obviously, the pecking order and the schedule, the recruiting, and sitting down and talking about a new facility. And so the response has been unbelievable from the community. There's definitely a different vibe and energy, and it's been awesome so far.
You had any sleep yet in the 7 weeks?
Sleep's overrated. It's been nonstop. I think the only day I didn't make any recruiting calls was December 25th. So.
The one day. What's been the hardest thing so far? I mean, we're starting a program from the ground up. So what's been the hardest thing so far in the 7 weeks since you've been under the helm?
I think just slowing down. There's so much going on, and there's so much excitement. It's just trying to have some patience and just take care of one thing at a time. But I get going in so many different directions, and there's so much that I want to accomplish each day. But I think the biggest thing is just kind of having patience and putting a priority list together and just taking care of each step and put each brick in its place so we have a solid foundation.
I know last week you did a camp, this week you're doing a camp. How big is this camp? I mean, I went to LCSE Warrior camps when I was a kid, but they were already well known. You're
Right.
a new program. No one knows about you yet, but it looks like you already got a good stable point of kids out here as well.
Well, the last 10 years working for the Chicago Cubs and Boise being my home, we started this camp actually 9 years ago just to help our scouts in the Northwest identify players and get to know them a little bit. And our scouts cover a vast area, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, and so those were kind of some states that we targeted to give players an opportunity to come in here and learn as much as possible. The staff that I bring in, they have big league experience. Of course, we bring in some college coaches as well, and just to give these kids as much information as possible. And when you look at this area, it's the two biggest baseball weekends in the state of Idaho that nobody knows about. We don't advertise them, it's word of mouth, and we're full every year. So it's been awesome to have that already started, and now with my new position at Boise State, doing it on campus, we just kept it rolling. And there is a different vibe, though, no question, with my job change. And it's been great to have this opportunity to get some kids in here now and some potential in future Broncos.
Let's have some fun. Let's say I still have eligibility left. What's your sales pitch to me, knowing that it's a brand new program, and let's say I have offers to play at other schools as well?
Well, I think for me, even getting the opportunity to be offered the job is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I think for kids that want to be part of something special, to build a new program basically from scratch. The last year Boise State had baseball was 1980. So there's a lot of interest from kids all over the country with it being a new program. And Boise State's already on the map, so we have a brand. We have a great community with great support, great tradition, and I mean it's an easy sell, really. And so it's just a matter of digging in a little bit deeper and finding out as much information as I can on these student athletes that are interested. And we're looking for the best players wherever we can find them. We want to start right here in Idaho, of course, but we want to find the right players and people that want to be Broncos and have that potential to make an impact not only on the field but in our community. And that's a priority, but it's an easy sell.
What's the latest on the field? We're going to have blue field. How's the dimensions looking?
Well, we've had some meetings. We got to get the ball rolling, of course, for the stadium to be ready by 2020. Now, does it need to be fully completed? No, but I think if we can play on it, and if it is in phases, these are some decisions that have to be made here fairly quick. But I do know the community's ready to sit down and put the pieces together, and I'm excited to help in that process and put together a quality facility that not only our players are going to love to train and play at, but the community is going to love to come watch, and the kids in this community are going to be able to come to the stadium and go, wow, this is where I want to be. Blue, green, I'm in for either or. There is a little bit of a buzz because Boise State has blue turf, and I think we're going to start a poll to see what the interest is and let everybody have their say. But you know, at the end of the day, we'll make the best decisions, obviously, for Boise State athletics and the community. But I think blue sounds good.
Is it going to be blue infield, blue outfield, or the whole thing?
I'd probably go blue, and then, you know, the dirt areas, you would have that maybe a burnt orange type color, where some infields, natural surfaced infields, have that clay mix where it is kind of a darker burnt orange. So I think that would look pretty cool with a huge Bronco head in center field that people can see from the stands. And yeah, all that stuff is pretty exciting, and to be you know, honored to be a part of that in the building. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
And are we looking, you know, I'm from Lewis, and so Washington State, they went from grass to all turf.
Right.
Is that what we're thinking down here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a traditionalist. You know, you play baseball on dirt and grass and get dirty, but for the college season, to get all your training in within the time restraints that you have, and, you know, trying to get ready for the season right now at this time of year in 2020, it makes sense to have an artificial surface so you can get your work in. Plus, it's going to help with scheduling because teams coming from outside the area, they know, hey, we got a good shot of getting the games in. You know, even if we do have some weather issues with it being turf, having lights at the stadium, we're going to be able to get some quality opponents coming into Boise knowing that they're going to be able to get their games in.
Talk about that a little bit. What do you got on the schedule so far? Do you already have our season opener in 2020, and how's the schedule looking?
Well, we've got to finalize things with the contracts, of course, but it's a long ways out, but yet it's going to be here before we know it. And that was probably one of the first things on my priority list, was to reach out to as many colleges throughout the country and just find out who's interested in coming into Boise. Of course, all the Northwest schools, you know, the Washington States, the Gonzagas, Utah, BYU, Utah Valley, Oregon, Oregon State, University of Washington, Seattle U, and Portland. Those were my first calls. Those are going to be my midweek games because they're my closest opponents. But we do have Seattle U on the calendar to open up that first full weekend in March of 2020, and BYU will follow up with a midweek game on a Tuesday night. So we'll just finalize that stuff, and we'll have all those teams. Utah will have home and home. We'll be able to get Oregon in here for a home and home. So I'm excited. Creighton is on the books for a home and home. So yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. And I think Boise's obviously attractive. It's easy to get to. The airport is very easy, close to campus. So direct flights from a lot of places in the Midwest and the South really helps us attract teams to come in and hopefully play a quality opponent, and yeah, we'll help with the whole RPI and how that's all working. But it is a challenge. We only have 21 conference games, so we got to find 35 non-leaguers. And if we're going to go out and raise money to build a quality stadium, I owe it to the community to go out and bring in some quality opponents to come to Boise. So those programs that aren't afraid to travel and come into Boise, those again will be the next priority to reach out to.
A couple questions on scheduling. You got 2 colleges in town. I know RPI-wise it's not going to help you, and then obviously you have the NAIA World Series team up in Lewis. And are they ever going to get on the schedule? You know, exhibition type game, and then are you going to? When do you start making the phone call to like powerhouse teams like Texas and you know, the big ones?
Right. Well, those calls are going in right now to all the Division I programs, but there are some changes within scheduling. A lot of teams now are playing some games in the fall, and those can be games against an NNU, a College of Idaho, an LC State, and you know, we'll definitely look at that, but that's something I think that we can take care of pretty easily. Obviously, the priority right now is during our spring season, we're allowed 56 games. So, I mean, we'll call everybody in the country to find out who's interested in coming to Boise. And then, of course, there's a lot of schools in the warmer weather climates that want us to come down there and pay us a guarantee, but maybe not a return trip home. So we'll do a couple of those, obviously, to add to our strength of schedule, and that's going to help with recruiting as well. And so, I mean, we want to play the best. If we're going to be the best, we want to play the best, and it's going to be a challenging schedule no doubt, and that's the goal. So we'll just keep chipping away, but we're off to a good start because we're really close to finishing our 2020-2021 schedule right now. So.
Wow. Okay, so 7 weeks in, we've already got most of the 2020 schedule. So what are some other challenges that you've overcame so far, fundraising or getting your staff together, stuff like that?
You know, I think the biggest challenge right now is because I'm solo and there's so many different directions to go. It's just kind of slowing down and making sure I'm still breathing. And you know, sometimes you feel like you got to do all this stuff in one day, but I mean, just getting back to emails, you know, from all the interest, whether it's people looking for a job and want to be part of my staff, obviously student athletes who want to be Broncos and come to Boise State, and trying to just maintain and keep my head above water and responding to all those requests, all the emails, all the phone calls, text messages. That's been a little overwhelming, but I mean, I guess if we're going to have patience on our end, I'm asking everybody out there to have patience as well, and just stay on me. Don't let me forget about you, and you know, make sure that families and kids kind of know where we're at. And you know, we weren't planning on having anybody on campus next fall. When I was asked at the press conference, you know, when are you going to bring kids in? My plan was 2019, have our full squad ready to go. Well, we're going to have some guys show up on campus next fall and put in a year of training and development, redshirt, and be ready to go in the fall of 19. So things change each day. I've even had some of those graduate transfer guys who, you know, I know basketball and football, that's more prevalent, but you know, baseball, obviously it's happening, because I've heard from a couple guys that, hey, I'm going to be finished my degree, I'm playing at this Division I school, I'm looking to go to graduate school. So those would be one-year guys maybe, and if I need to fill some holes, I'll start looking at that possibility too. But I'd like to even out my classes as soon as possible, so you know, I need to go look at some JC guys, and those guys bring a lot of value and give those kids an opportunity to be Broncos. And then of course that 2019 class will be our foundation, our first freshman class that will go through the whole process when they get to campus. And I think having some balance in each class is going to be critical, but I don't know how it's all going to play out, just with, you know, a lot of moving parts.
With that said, looking at your team down the line, do you expect it to be more Idaho kids? Are you going to go California route, Texas route, or what do you think it's going to be, since it's your first time putting a team together?
Right. Well, I think the people, you know, in Idaho, the baseball people who understand, and you know, of course, our scout program that we ran, you know, while I was working with the Cubs over the last 9 years, you know, we tried to identify the best players in the state and help them move on to play at the next level. Now they have an opportunity that they've never had before to look at staying at home and playing at Boise State. So our mission won't change. You know, the Idaho Cubs will become our local sports club, which is a perfect tie-in, and our mission will stay the same. And we want to help kids advance. But when you look at the numbers, on a good year, there might be 5 kids in the state of Idaho that have an opportunity to go on and play Division I baseball. So we don't want to miss on those guys now. And if they do want to stay home and be a part of this, obviously those guys are going to be priority. So the state of Idaho, from a recruiting standpoint, I need to make sure we're taking care of kids here in our state and giving them an opportunity, or if they need to go to a junior college, you know, to get some more playing time and develop and come back and transfer, you know, we want to make sure we identify those kids and we know who they are. But when the numbers over history, you got to bring in some kids from out of state. So now, I mean, it's totally wide open with the interest that we're getting. So we'll go wherever, and again, it's finding the right player that we think is going to be a great fit and make an impact in our program. But you know, 10 years from now, when we're celebrating a Mountain West championship or hosting a regional in our stadium, you look at that roster and there's 15 kids from Idaho, that would be pretty special.
2 final questions for you. How long until you get the remainder of your staff? I know it's still a little ways away. And who do you think is going to be a rivalry in the Mountain West? Because obviously when Boise State did that baseball, we were never in the Mountain West at that time. So who do you expect to be the rivalry in the Mountain West?
You know, that's a good question. You know, I think from a baseball standpoint, you're looking at the tradition that Fresno State brings. Of course, San Diego State, New Mexico, Nevada, Reno, just the closest opponent. But also some of those non-conference teams, like a BYU, they have such a strong following in this valley. I want to make sure they're on the schedule every year, and I think we'll be able to make that happen. So those non-league opponents in the Northwest, and hey, who knows, maybe we can get Oklahoma in here to play. So we'll make a call to them, and I think that would be pretty special too. But the baseball powerhouses will look to create a strong rival, and Nevada, Reno, with them being close, I think those are the obvious ones.
And your staff?
Staff, I can bring in my paid assistants. We're looking at probably the June target date. So the response there too has been really humbling. A lot of guys have reached out to me, obviously interested in working here and working for me, which has been great. I am talking to some guys just to find out their interest level. But I do know the staff that we're going to be able to bring in here is going to be really an unbelievable staff that covers a lot of different levels, guys that have had pro experience, whether playing or coaching, and been at the college level, maybe have done some scouting. I mean, we're looking at, we only have 2 paid assistants, so it's going to be critical that we bring in guys that, can throw BP and do all that stuff and can get on the road and do the recruiting and be part of the grind, and their families are obviously fully committed. And again, it's a great place to be and raise a family. So, the guys that we do finally bring in here to make up that staff, if it is June, I'm going to be fired up to get in the foxhole with them.
This is your first head coaching job at the collegiate level. You were an assistant at Gonzaga, correct?
Yeah, I was a head coach at the JC level, so my first head coaching job was at Centralia College for a year, and then I went to Treasure Valley and was the head coach there for about 6 years, and then went to University of Portland as an assistant, back to Gonzaga, my alma mater, for a second stop as an assistant, and then professional baseball for 10 years. And so, being out of the college game for 10 years, it's like I've gone out and I've learned another master's degree.
Right.
And so I look at the things that I did when I was in the college game that I'm going to change and do it a little bit differently now. So having a different perspective, I'm excited to see if that's going to result in some success, of course, because I was hired here to create a successful program that people are going to be proud of, with a strong tradition that we're going to be able to compete with anybody in the country. And if I can't meet those expectations, I understand that I'll be looking for another job. So I get it, and I'm not afraid of that. I know what I signed up for, and there's a lot of expectations here at Boise State. And when you look at the success of all the programs here at Boise State, I mean, there's a strong tradition of winning championships, and we want to be a part of that as well.
How long until you want to get to Omaha?
Well, I mean, that's the ultimate goal. But being my age, and this is my 28th year since I finished playing, coaching, it's about the process. And if we can take care of the process step by step, day by day, then the results are going to come. No different than trying to get our players to understand, hey, it's not about getting a hit, right? When you go up to the plate, just give me a quality at bat, and eventually those hits are going to come. So yes, that's the final destination. If it comes sooner than later, awesome. But right now, we just want to build a strong, solid foundation that is going to give us a chance to compete. And then, hey, all it takes is a 2-out fisted base hit to win a ball game, and anything can happen in baseball. So that's where we want to be each and every year, and just really focus on the process, and the rest will take care of itself.